Right now, we want to bring back an oldie but a goodie to the show, carbon offsets. And the reason this got back in the news is that the royal couple, this would be that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
There's a lot of royal couples.
Well, Harry and Meghan are right now the hot team because she's the American actress that married the British prince, right?
Honest to God, I spend zero time following them. I hear the names floating in the air. I don't know who's married to who. I don't know who she is.
Anyway.
So I'm just telling you, I'm at a huge disadvantage. I don't get this.
Anyway, they took some private jet trips. They actually took flights to Ibiza and back to the UK. Then they took a flight to Nice, back to the UK on their private jet. And they were criticized because they're another one of these people that's out in front about how we have to do something about climate change. Don't practice what they preach. Flying private jets, much like we saw Arnold Schwarzenegger do years ago here in the state of California. Yeah. And Elton John then came to their defense, the singer, because apparently they were going to his private home in one of those locations.
As opposed to Elton John, the gardener.
He said he made a donation to offset the carbon cost of the trips, which, as I said, brings us back to the ridiculous notion of carbon offsets.
Now, I just wanted if they pay money to plant trees, the trees are going to absorb the carbon dioxide that the planes blew out of their exhaust pipe.
Well, actually, it's a little more complicated than that. Some of the money goes to projects in countries like Uganda to drill boreholes, which prevent the future burning of logs to boil water by providing clean drinking water. Apparently, the carbon schemes now involve projects in developing or underdeveloped countries. Well, but the people from Greenpeace and even the UN say that doesn't change the fact that they left a lot of carbon in the air from their plane trips. That doesn't really...
They're all scams. And they've come... People saw through the planting trees scam. So now they're trying to come up with complicated ones where you go, yeah, I don't know, maybe if you drill boreholes and then they're not burning wood anymore. It's nonsense.
How about distributing efficient cooking stoves to villagers in Kenya, where more than 80% of the population relies on burning wood and charcoal to cook?
I got one. How about you don't fly your plane? Why isn't that the carbon offset? These people are phonies. They're fakes, phonies, and frauds. All three. That's
why
they're phonies. That's all. It's nothing more complicated than that.
That's why I appreciate the Swedes. They have a campaign going on where they're trying to get people not to take any more planes. I understand it's popular in Sweden.
How many? It's probably people who can't afford to fly.
Well, they're Swedes, so they're already not really in favor of... I thought it might be worth a minute to talk about, and I didn't know this, it's from the Daily Mail, the origins of the carbon offsets. Back in 2002, you know who was one of the first to tell people what they could do to offset their carbon emissions? Does anyone know the name Chris Martin? Chris Martin is the lead singer for Coldplay, a band that's been popular for a number of years. But guess who he was married to?
I know.
Tell them.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
I remember that.
Back in 2002.
Well, was this her stupid idea?
I don't know, but back in 2002, Chris Martin said he'd be paying for 10,000 mango trees to be planted in southern India, thereby rendering the entire production of his hit record carbon neutral. I guess.
And people felt
the Rush of Blood.
First of all, do you think anybody who bought a Coldplay album cared?
No.
And do you think anybody fell for that?
Well, also most of the mango trees died.
Yeah.
In any event.
Yeah.
At least 40% of the mango trees had already died within 4 years after they called it the Coldplay Forest. But it says here, after he did that, all sorts of celebrities from Leonardo DiCaprio to Sting to Kylie Minogue to the Foo Fighters picked up on it, including Schwarzenegger. Just a few years later, Schwarzenegger was talking about sponsoring a forest in Northern California.
Shallow, feel-good, trendy nonsense. It's like wearing ribbons. It's like hashtags. It's all symbolic nonsense. None of
That's
these.
what they coined the term slacktivist for people who think they can do something dopey and simple online and they've done their part.
They're fraudivists is what they are.
Fraudivists?
Yes. They hope that the small-brained fans that drool all over their activities are going to fall for this and think they're wonderful. They don't care about the environment, period. There's no other explanation. If you really cared about what they claim, you would never fly a private plane. Never. You'd never go on anyone else's private plane. You wouldn't do it. So anything short of that, I'm putting my fingers in my ears. I don't want to hear about them. Leonardo DiCaprio is a fake. Schwarzenegger's a fake. The Coldplay guy is a fake. They're all fakes. You know, it's
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders is a fake. All right? It's just
he just got called out for flying around in his campaign plane.
Show me the 3 Swedish people who are refusing to fly. All right? I'll pay attention to them. And I think Ed Begley Jr. That's it. I don't know of anybody else. The rest of these people are frauds.
The famous show we did at Ed Begley Jr.'s house where he was really showing us how he lived efficiently.
That impressed me. The guy has a solar-powered oven, and he puts food in the oven, and he chases the sunlight all around his backyard.
Yeah, that's right. He runs around the backyard to move the oven into the sun.
He has it on a cart with wheels, like a wheelbarrow with an oven in it. And then he goes running around chasing the sunlight. All right, that impressed me. I said, this guy's for real. I'll listen to him.
Yeah, he collects the rainwater. Remember that?
That's right.
Did he recycle his pee? I don't remember. No, I guess he didn't.
I didn't ask him about that. Maybe you did.
But they did a long story in the Daily Mail about Greenpeace saying that this stuff is phony. It's a scheme. It's a scam to make people think that all these carbon offsets are really making a difference. Because if you're taking the flight, the carbon's going into the atmosphere, and that's that.
You know. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't.
It's kind of that simple.
It doesn't pull back the carbon. It does nothing. And
if you think that somewhere else on the planet you've offset it, it's just nonsense.
And then I read, even if your trees don't die, like the Coldplay guys, his trees died, even if they don't die, they have to be there for decades and decades until they account for all the carbon that you just blew into the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, it was 300 years, I think.
Yeah, it was some ridiculous number. I mean, this world is so filled with nonsense. And there's so much publicity and so much discussion, and it's all nonsense. The only way you cool the planet is you have to go back to living like we did in the 1700s. If you don't do that, nothing's changing. And everybody knows that. That's what's funny. But there's such an industry now to play pretend. And it's just gives me a massive headache.
All right, when we come back, an update on the sad news that Larry King wants a divorce and the response from the wife next.
John and Ken Show. Boy, she was a prize. KFI AM 640. Johnny.